doing, comrade? You there? You hear me? Oh, there you are. Ah, all right. Working on working on some technical difficulties at the
I'm
moment.
hearing you very low.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Okay, now I can hear you.
All right.
Ready for revolution.
Ready for revolution, comrade.
How you doing today, brother and comrade?
I am doing fine. Fine.
Okay.
Um, we are actually doing this.
You hear me clearly?
Yes, sir. I hear you very
Oh,
loud. Very
all
loud.
right. So we're ready for the technological revolution.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know, it's, we use this in order to get our message out, especially the situation that is going on in Guinea-Bissau.
Exactly. The enemy wants us to be isolated so nobody can hear us.
Yes, sir. You know, and they want to give us all this unconscious stuff and not let us be conscious at all. So, in fact, we're going to start doing meetings like this, and we're going to broadcast it all over. But so let's get to the current situation in Guinea-Bissau and the attack upon the PAIGC. You mind enlightening the people what is going
Okay. We want to thank you and say that the attack against the African Party of Independence of Guinea and Cape Verde, PIGC, is not an attack, just an isolated attack against a party. It's an attack against our people. Our people have a right to have organization as an instrument of our culture to make sure that we're able to control our society based upon our culture. To do that, we must have democracy. So that inside of the instrument of the party, democracy dominates, and that the party, when it makes the democratic decisions, those are the decisions that are executed. In the current regime, what is called a multi-party regime, it's not only the PIGC that exists. During the glorious armed struggle, it was only the PIGC that organized the people, the peasantry, the farmers, the women, the youth, the workers, to make sure that we're able to take control of our society by having to use the instrument called the gun, arms, to chase out the Portuguese colonialists along with the NATO allies. Upon winning this struggle, our people decided what type of political, economic system we wanted to have. We created what is called a party state, so that when the people make decisions inside of the party in relationship to agriculture, education, health, everything that is implemented in the state apparatus. We were forced into a multi-party system in 1994. Actually, in 1991, the transition began. 1994, they had the first multi-party elections. The people voted for the PIDC to have the absolute majority. Before our before our mandate ended, a political military struggle emerged. The elections after that, the people voted against the PIDC. They blamed the war on us. But a few years later, they begged for the PIDC to come back. So in the following election, the PIDC won the relative majority. The election after that, the PIDC won the overwhelming majority with 67 out of 100 seats. And again, now another coup d'etat happened. We've had a number of military coups, and we had some institutional coups that were protagonized by neocolonialist agents of imperialism. Most recently, in 2020, the imperialist regime imposed a president on us, and that president dismissed the democratically elected government led by the PIGC. And they began to repress the people, kidnappings, beatings, jailings, attacking radio stations, attacking the party headquarters, attacking our marches, beating our people, jailing our people, some of everything you can imagine. The situation became chaotic. The school years never began on time and never ended. They were always interrupted by a series of strikes. You had a number of doctors, health workers who were told to go home because we have too many workers. You're talking about a country where during the time of Portuguese colonialism, we had 99% of the people who were not allowed to go to school, so we had 99% illiteracy. But of course, the PIG came to change that by putting schools everywhere to make sure that we train our technician, make sure that we have doctors, we have school teachers, et cetera, to serve our people. So now this regime comes along and says, no, we got too many teachers, we got too many doctors. So you have a situation like out of the 9 regions, you have a region called Biombo where you don't have one single doctor in the health centers. And so you have overwork and you have few nurses, few health technicians who are seriously overworked and underpaid. Now, in 2022, the National People's Assembly was designed by this neo-colonial president. But at that time, we had to suffer with it because according to our constitution, after 12 months, if the president thinks that there's a grave uh, crisis between the institutions, he or she can call to meet with the president of the National People's Assembly. After that, meet with the parties to have representation inside of the National People's Assembly. And then after that, have a meeting of the State Council to decide to dissolve the National People's Assembly. But you have a permanent commission that has the president of the National People's Assembly, the 2 vice presidents, and 2 secretaries, along with representation from the parties who have seats in the National People's Assembly for a total of 15 that compose a national permanent commission. So, but the Constitution says you must have elections no later than 90 days after the National People's Assembly is dissolved. Now, it was dissolved on the 12th of May, 2022, which means that we should have had elections no later than August. It didn't happen. No attempts were made to have the elections. Meanwhile, the the National Council of Elections expired. They're elected by the National People's Assembly for a term of 4 years. Finally, the election day was unilaterally chosen by this imposed president. He put the date as the 4th of June, 2023, last year. Now, you had a serious disadvantage. You had this illegal regime, which is so-called political movement, did all the resources you can imagine, money, 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 pouring money in the streets, taking bags of money to the village, trying to buy the people off. They had all types of cars, sound trucks, posters, T-shirts. They had these little groups they were giving money to support them. Meanwhile, they kept on persecuting the PIDC, the People's Party. So the idea was, and what they believed, was that there's such a big disadvantage that the PIC were not able to get even 19 or 20 of the deputies out of 102. Used to be 100, now it's 102. But to their shock, these courageous, clear people voted overwhelmingly for the PIDC and this coalition called PIE Terranca. So they tried even to change the results, they weren't able to. As a result, the PIDC had the absolute majority and used this pressure. The people organized who embraced the program of the PIDC. And after a couple of months, finally, the National People's Assembly was inaugurated. A few weeks after that, in August, on the 13th of August, the government led by the PIDC's coalition, PI Terranca, took office and began to make serious transformations in our society. The things that were wrong with the educational system, we corrected those to make sure the school year started on time, with quality professors, quality high school principals, and those at the university. Making sure that we recall back those health workers, doctors, technicians, nurses who had been laid off and brought them back to the health system and begin to lower the prices of the basic necessities, such as rice, cooking oil, bread, fuel, etc., fish. So now, in last month, in December of 2023, this imposed president, his name is Umaru Sissoko Embalo, said that the National People's Assembly was dissolved and it would form its own government. All this against the Constitution. As I mentioned earlier, the Constitution clearly states in Article 94 that the National People's Assembly cannot be dissolved for at least 12 months at the elections. And remember, I said the elections were in June. It also says, and the other thing that he did, I want to make this very clear. Before he declared that the National People's Assembly was dissolved, there were some masked armed men who surrounded the Supreme Court building and the house of the president of the Supreme Court and forced him to resign. I mean, they were in broad daylight in nighttime, 3 days. They surrounded his house and surrounded the Supreme Court building. So we have a situation where actually nothing is functioning. You have a maniac called president who acts like there's no constitution, who acts like there are no laws, that he wakes up and what he decides that's what's supposed to be the law. For example, when he said that the government was dissolved. He said that he would be in the new government, his government. He said he calls it a government of presidential initiative, which doesn't exist in our system at all. It's not in our constitution. It never happened up to him. He said that he's going to also be the minister of defense and the minister of interior. The following they said, no, okay, so you're going to be the minister, like a maniac.
Yeah.
So of course our people have tried in various ways to protest. We've had those traditional type of protests. We have marches, and they repress them. They beat our people. They shoot us up with tear gas. They arrest us. They attack the radio station, and then makes all type of statements like, "Okay, from now on, whenever the journalist say anything bad about me, I want all the police to follow behind that person and arrest that journalist right away." And from now on, those political debates that take place on the radio stations are put to a halt. Things like this. So what we have decided to do is we have a number of tactics. One of the tactics is let's lobby the regional bodies, the international bodies, such as the United Nations Security Council, particularly in their political affairs department, the African Union, its political affairs department, and then what is called ECOWAS, the Economic Community of West African States, of which the PIDC party state was one of the founders, with along with Sekou Touré, the party state of Guinea, and others. But it has been seriously compromised over the years, particularly by imperialism, and more specifically by French imperialism. But even so, given the dynamics of what their charter says they have to do, we know that they could not support a maniac like this who says that he can decide to dissolve the National People's Assembly against the Constitution. So we're calling on all those who believe in justice to get in contact with some ECOWAS representatives. We have a list, our brother and comrade Sekou Kwame has a list of the contacts of the ECOWAS structures. For example, you have what is called the ECOWAS Permanent Commission. We have their email. You have a rotational president every day among themselves. Heads the states of the West African countries. They elect a rotational president who will be the chair of the they call it authority. Whenever they have the summits of the heads of state, that person will chair the meeting. And right now it's Nigerian. Bolu Tinadu, we have his email as well. We also have the telephone number of the Permanent Commission. We have the email contacts of the Security Commission of ECOWAS. We have the contacts of they call it the West African Parliament, Parliament of ECOWAS, which has deputies elected from the different states that make up West Africa. So we'd like to appeal to you to get involved in this process beginning on tomorrow, the 1st of February. If you're not able to do it on the 1st of February, we'd like to do it on the 2nd. But please don't let the 3rd pass by because we want to storm the telephone calls, not to curse them out or say anything bad, but just to put diplomatic pressure on them to make Guinea-Bissau one of the priorities. Because, priorities are relative. Some of them might think that it's more of a priority to deal with the other areas. For example, you have Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, who have decided as a bloc to leave ECOWAS. So some of them might consider that to be a priority. You have a struggle going on in Senegal, where the neocolonial puppet there, Macky Sall, has been and his group have been doing everything they can to manipulate the electoral process that's supposed to take place next month in February to elect a new president. So they have the main person who could win the elections, Ousmane Sonko, in prison, as well as some other activists. You have struggles like in Guinea Conakry, where it's a military regime that's ruling, but you have some who were in prison before the coup, some who escaped and have not been found yet. You got a attempted coup d'etat that took place in Sierra Leone about 2 months ago. So you have a number of things that you have the terrorist attacks in Nigeria. So you have a number of things that might be considered to be priority. But we don't want to make Guinea-Bissau also a priority, one of the main priorities, because it's very simple. What they need to do is to have a commission from ECOWAS come to Guinea-Bissau and meet with the authorities here. But I want to let you know already that at their last meeting that I know of, the last meeting of the Security Commission that took place in December last month, their resolution was that the doors of the National People's Assembly must be open. That the government they will continue to work with is the government led by brother and comrade Gerardo Jean Martins, who was the prime minister, who was appointed democratically by the PIE Terra coalition of the PIGC. They also said that this arms so-called stabilization mission should be withdrawn from Guinea-Bissau immediately, and that the commission will come to help with that. But by the time the resolutions got to the heads of states summit, they kept most of the resolutions, but the one dealing with the armed stabilization mission, they said they would give it a year to leave because it's clear that this armed stabilization mission is not helping to stabilize anything except their bellies. The only one they protect is Humanist Open Battle. Just to give you an example, I told you earlier that you had some armed masked men who surrounded the Supreme Court building and the house of the President of the Supreme Court. They didn't do anything. I mean, this is 3 days. And people, the journalists, they were asking the government, did you send these announcements? They said, no, it wasn't us. So they asked the president, was it you who sent it? He said, if anybody else that did, I'm going to get mad with you. Da, da, da. So it's clear it was him. So you have a unstabilized Supreme Court. You have a so-called stabilization mission from ECOWAS. They're still watching all this. Another example, there were two soldiers from this stabilization mission that were protecting the president of the National People's Assembly, who's also the president of the PIGC. But when this imposed neocolonial puppet, so-called president, said that those two agents from ECOWAS should be removed from protecting the president of the National Assembly, they left. Can you imagine that? So this is one of the tactics we're going to use. A number of other tactics, but this is a tactic where all of you who are interested, you can be involved directly. Wherever you are, you can use your cell phone or your computer. You have access to Wi-Fi or whatever kind of internet you use. You can just take these contacts, and you can. We have even a proposed statement that you can use, not necessarily copy paste, but use it as the essence to basically say to the ECOWAS authorities, it's urgent that you come to Guinea-Bissau to open up the doors of the National People's Assembly so the democratically elected representatives can continue their democratic work. And as a result of that, the PIE-led democratic government will come back to power. Now, if after a few days, if this doesn't work with ECOWAS, meantime, we're also in contact with other different international organizations, such as the African Union, such as the United Nations Political Affairs Department, the European Union, the CPLB, which is the network of countries that speak Portuguese. In addition to other tactics we're going to use, but we want to concentrate on this right now on ECOWAS to make it simple.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Of course. And that campaign is running from February 1st to February 4th, or is it February 1st to February 4th? The campaign is running too.
Yes, from
So
the
the
1st of February to the 3rd of February,
okay.
from Thursday through Saturday,
Okay.
Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Yes, sir.
So don't take a few minutes of your time, but we have different types of soldiers. Doing the glorious on the street, you have soldiers who pick up arms. You have other soldiers who pick up ink pens, pencils. You have other soldiers who are nurses, who help the wounded. You have those involved in the diplomatic field, etc. So this is another way that you can be a soldier of the people. Now, the PIGC is a Pan-Africanist Revolutionary Party. Not only did it come to help transform Guinea-Bissau, Africa, but even the world. It began to contribute to the struggle of the Palestinians since the 1960s. It began to contribute and had made a determinant impact on the revolution going on in East Timor. Some people call it Timor-Leste. And you could ask those from Fritland, the front that led the armed struggle. They really praised the PIC for its support. You can even ask the Cubans. Fidel called Amilcar Cabral the most bright and clear out of Africa. Not only did Cabral help them to co-found the Organization of Solidarity of the Peoples of Africa, Asia, and Latin America, OSPAL, OSPAAL, which was the main political military coordination to coordinate the struggles, the armed struggles, and political struggles throughout Africa, throughout Asia, throughout Latin America. He's one of the co-founders. The PIGC's delegation is one of the co-founders, along with Cabral. But Cabral also contributed to the agricultural reform in Cuba, as well as other places. We have a lot of things that this Pan-African instrument that our people created, is helped to transform humanity, and it's going to do even more in the future. It's not the only one. In coordination with all of the revolutionary, progressive political formations, we're going to transform this world, get rid of the exploitation of man and woman by man and woman, to have a society where when a baby is born, the baby doesn't have any barriers. The baby has access to healthcare, quality healthcare, quality education, and when that baby finishes, that child finishes, or the young youth finishes the university system, that youth will have access to quality employment, contributing to the development of humanity. That's our mission.
Of course, it is all of the mission in the party. We're going to be providing the contacts. We're going to leave the link so you guys could email tomorrow and the day after that and the day after that and call if you can't email. You must remember that the PAIGC is important to African liberation. If you are a Pan Africanist or you are somebody that is interested in democracy. So,
Yeah, and you should also share the context with your context, and ask your context to share with their context, and understand that this is the process of the liberation of Africa and socialism in the world. Because those of you who are familiar with the All African People's Revolutionary Party, you know that when Assange write a fictional book, he made an observation of reality in Africa and the world. And it was him who said that we must bring together the revolutionary Pan-Africanist parties that are struggling in Africa, together with those who are already in power in Africa, and coordinate with the revolutionary parties in the world. So he said that we would take this at the level of the Central Committee of the PAIGC that was struggling at that time, and the PDG, which was in power at that time. Give a couple of examples that they will form an instrument at the level of their Central Committee called the All African Committee for Political Coordination. And they would bring together their armed forces. Guinea Bissau, we have what's called the People's Revolutionary Armed Forces, Força Armada Revolucionária do Povo, FARC. You bring that together with the other revolutionary armed forces in Africa and form an all African People's Revolutionary Army, so we can totally liberate Africa. Now we will do that. Here in Guinea-Bissau, you might not. If it was in 1940s, 1930s, if anybody told you that this country has 99% of its people illiterate, but one day they would beat the Portuguese colonists with the NATO allies, with weapons, airplanes, and jets from the U.S., from Canada, machine guns from France, bombs and hand grenades from Germany, from Spain. You will say, you must be crazy. How can these people defeat this serious military? Our people did it. And our people together will chase all of the imperialists out of Africa and the world. And you can contribute to that.
yes, it's going to happen. They're at their last stage, and it's only a matter of time before we assume power and give it back to the people.
Yeah, it's a matter of time and organization. We got to take initiatives. We can't sit like we're in front of a TV watching a football game or a baseball game or a sports match. We got to get on the field and play.
That's true.
It's
That's
us.
true.
It's how you make history. And this you have eternal life. If
Yes,
you make
sir.
your contributions to transform humanity, you never die. Physics proves that. Physics says that it is not created, it's not destroyed, it's only displaced. Amilcar Cabral was shot 3 times. His heart stopped beating, but he's more alive now than ever. And on that, I'm just going to give you a quick little note. Do you know how mad this regime is? Every year on the 20th of January and other holidays, we go to visit the Amilcar Cabral mausoleum. Well, the 20th of January is the Heroes Day because it's the day that Cabral was physically assassinated in 1973. But Cabral's youngest daughter, along with his comrades in arms and other continuers of the works of Cabralists, we went to go to the museum. They blocked us from going inside. Later, the same day in the evening, we went to the Amilcar Cabral statue by the airport. It's called Amilcar Cabral Plaza to have a homage to Amilcar Cabral. They chased us away. The 30th of January is Guinea Women's Day to give homage to all of our revolutionary sisters. But particularly, it was Comrade Tatina Silla, who was also assassinated on the 3rd of January 1973 when she was on the way from the northern part of Guinea-Bissau to go to Guinea-Conakry to participate in Amilcar Cabral's funeral ceremony. She was ambushed. So we used that date to call it Guinea Women's Day. Now, she has a daughter who's here. Her daughter was some of our comrades went to the statue of Milka Cabral. It's a little park in front of Kwame Nkrumah National High School. And they said we cannot even put wreaths of flowers on her statue. We cannot have a ceremony. For the first time ever. That's how low they have stooped. So they have got the anger of the mass of the people, so they'll be crushed. And they touch the women too. Touch the women, you'll be destroyed. You'll be crushed. So, comrades, we're on the right path, and we're going to win.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Ready for the revolution.
Ready
Victory is certain.
Yes, sir.
No pincha. We're together.
Yes, together. Forever forward. Yes, sir. So hit the link and participate in the action plan to open up the People's National Assembly in Guinea-Bissau and help democracy and freedom of the African.
We're together. Estamos juntos. Venceremos.
Yes, sir. All right, comrade.
Thank you, comrade.
I appreciate
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, my brother. We'll do that.